I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. Hello and welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James. I get the honor to introduce you to inspiring women. Women that are making a difference on this planet. Women that have stepped into their power and their passion. Women that are examples of what's possible when you say yes to your life and allow spirit, universe, God, whatever you choose to call it, to lead you. So welcome. I'm thrilled that you're here. We are on iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, Amazon. Please subscribe. Come back every week and meet an amazing woman. So my guest today is Dawnita Brown. She's the founder and the CEO of Hey Caregiver, the Selfful Caregiver podcast, and what's called the Binti Circle. We're going to talk about her whole life, but I just want to tell you about this Binti Circle. It's a supportive social network for Black daughters caring for their mothers by way of a monthly support group, community blog, bi-weekly podcast, and interactive creative workshops with a focus on holistic wellness. Binti means daughter in Swahili, and circle represents unity, community, love, and commitment. Let me just read what it says here. As Black women, we face a myriad of trials as caregivers, caring for others while attempting to manage our careers, finances, personal well-being, in addition to cultural expectations, is demanding. By providing a platform to support Black female caregivers, the narrative of arduous is shifted, health is improved, and voice of the marginalized Black female caregiver is amplified. Amen, amen.
Amen, amen.
Thank you so much, Dawnita, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Cynthia. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I want to know a little bit about you. Where did you come from? How did you grow up?
Well, I am from the inner city of Baltimore, Maryland. In 2018, I believe it was ranked the most dangerous city in the country. We do struggle with that, drugs, poverty, all of the things. And I was raised in inner city east and west. So we have an east side and a west side. We also have suburbs, but I was raised in the inner city proper. And so I've been exposed to, drug addiction, even within my family. All of really all of the things: drug addiction, violence, murder. I've had cousins that were murdered. I have family members that were murderers. So I come from all of those things where I could have easily fallen into that world. But I feel I had wonderful parents who really modeled great behavior for me and what it means to live on purpose. My father specifically, he moved to LA when he was in his late 30s to pursue acting. And he's been there since. And, my mom had the secure job, the good government job. So I started my career started off in the federal government. And so it was when I got, I guess my relationship with God shifted. And so I was like, I want to live on purpose. I know that there's so much more for me to do than to be this government employee. And so it was like, God, what is my calling? What do you want me to do? So that's kind of like, having the parents that were very, they were serious about education. You're going to get an education. Yeah. They did not play with me. They didn't play with me with subpar average grades. They made sure that I excelled all throughout school, into college. And so I feel like I've always had that good balance where I'm very streetwise, common sense, growing up in a blighted inner city, but also knowing that education is key and knowledge, even beyond the books, that common sense is, trumps, book smarts every day. So I'm grateful to have that balance. So that's kind of like, I'm an only child as well. So, growing up as an only child, I have cousins and stuff. We grew up in the same household. So family was really big, so yeah, I have that. I'm well-rounded. So
I can see that.
I can go anywhere, Cynthia.
I hear you. And I love that. You said a couple of things that were important. First of all, education. My mom was a single mom, and it was like education. Because that's the only thing that's going to get you out of the welfare system, right? The other thing is that purpose, that you wanted to step into purpose. I believe that purpose is encoded. And so when you surrender and open, then that calling gets to come forward. So I want to know, what was the first indication that you were called to do this kind of work?
Well, this caregiving specifically, let's kind of start with the work that I've done with young Black girls. I am the founder as well, co-founder of several organizations for young Black women, Girls Believe, Destined for Womanhood, most recently, Black Girls Global Exchange. I still actually work with Black Girls Global Exchange. We have a cohort in South Africa, a cohort in Eswatini, and a cohort of women, young women here, that is a peer learning and cross-cultural exchange program for them, where they tackle global issues that are, for all of them, really, it's the same social issues that we struggle with. And they do it through artistic activism and community service. So I've worked with young women since I've been in my early 20s. So it's something that I've done. I've had a love for women and Black girls and young people, because I taught as well. So youth, I've been a youth advocate, but in terms of seeing the young girls that I used to be and really getting them to a point where they're exposed to things that they would not otherwise have a chance to do, like girls from Baltimore City traveling to Africa, to know that God called me to do that. Actually, while he called me to be a Peace Corps volunteer in my mid-career. Yeah. So everything that I've done is, like you say, it's that surrender, and it's that, God just take over. And the way that he does it is just so different than how you would have done it.
Hello.
So this caregiving role happened. I was actually serving in the Peace Corps, and it was 2018. And we had actually just come off of the exchange for the girls with that huge week-long excursion for the girls, like I mentioned, in Eswatini, South Africa, and Baltimore. And in August, I learned that my mother, and I'm trying to make the story short, learned that my mother was on life support. So I thought that I was flying home from Africa to take care of her. And when I came home, she's still here 4 years later. So over the time, like, my caregiving journey didn't start initially. That actually started earlier with my grandmother, but I did not identify as a caregiver when I was caring for my grandmother. I took care of my dad when he was diagnosed with multiple myeloma briefly. I still did not identify as a caregiver. And it wasn't until I was really in the throes of this position. It's not only caregiver, but you have to navigate. You learn a lot. It's like on the ground training, and you don't know unless you're in it or have done caregiving what it entails. So once I came home, again, it was all sudden the way that it happened. I was thrown right into the healthcare system, which is really sick care. So, navigating as a social worker, learning that I wasn't on my mother's bank account, her primary bank account, having to go through the guardianship, the courts, and, just being overwhelmed with everything, not really having any resources that were readily accessible to me or that I knew of. And then especially as a Black woman. So really having to advocate for your family member, even when it comes to nursing homes. So all of the things. And I just started really neglecting myself when it came to my well-being. And so I was taking care of my mother, and I was selfless. I was giving of her. Everything revolved around her. And it wasn't until I realized, wait a minute, because I started talking to people and friends of friends who knew of caregivers introducing us. And I'm like, wait a minute, there's a community of us out there and we don't really have anything in place for us. And
Right.
so that's kind of like where my caregiving journey started, even from the retail, like the t-shirts that they have out, they were so just not anything that I would wear. So, I was like, I want to be fashion forward. I want it to be unisex. So I started thinking retail. I started thinking about doing a podcast just to put our stories out there where they are relatable. They're not sugar coated. They are straight, no chaser. And then, having that unity. And then the Binti Circle came. I became certified as a caregiver consultant. And one of the assignments was to talk to a person with disabilities or a person of color. And, I said, well, wait a minute. I have a group of women, Black women that we're in the same boat. Let's do a panel discussion. And it morphed into a support group, a multi-generational support group. Our ages range from 30 to 66, and we have someone that's on the West Coast now. We're national, so it's like this, like you say, once you surrender. And the thing is, surrender even to the bad. Me coming
That's
home
right.
to my mother having a stroke, and I was planning to work. I was a federal employee kind of on loan to the Peace Corps because I was on sabbatical, but I wasn't getting paid. But I wanted to just live overseas and retire, finish out my career there. But I come home, my life is just kind of halted, right? And then to realize my mother, there was one time when she was on hospice, they had given her 2 days. She could have been gone a long time ago. But because God has work for me to do through her, then, I just have to be open. I can't be angry. I can't, God, why me? You have to look at why not me,
Yes. And, well, first of all, I love that for those of you who are looking at us on YouTube, she has on a caregiver shirt.
Oh, yes.
I just want to say.
Caregiver said, heycaregiver.com. You can shop.
Caregiver.com. All right. So, but I want to say, I had a woman on called Nadine Roberts Cornish, and she wrote this book called Tears of My Gumbo. And it was a similar story to yours.
Oh, yes. I'm familiar with her because I was doing research of Black caregivers. Yes.
Yes. And say a similar story, know. But what I love is that the calling for you was to bring like-minded people who are having a similar experience into community, because support comes from community. And I love that. And so you're saying, before we even started this podcast, that the Binti Circle is kind of taking over your life.
Yes. So the Binti Circle, we have 25 women who are part of the Binti Circle. I had one person join, like, initially because she had taken care of her mom for 5 years and then her mom transitioned. But I said, Princess, would you join us so that you can help us? Because that time is going to come eventually. Right. And since then, we've had 5 women who have lost their mothers during this, during this journey. But it makes it so much easier. And a lot of women, initially they feel like, well, I'm no longer a caregiver, so I can't be a part of the group. And I'm like, yes, you are. In fact, you're like alumni. You're able to help all of us kind of navigate and then lean on each other, because you feel like once it's over, everything is done, but then you have the grieving process. So it's a lot to learn. So with the Binti Circle, as you mentioned, it's a support group, but I am working to create a foundation. Advocacy is really, really big. A lot of women are in the sandwich generation, so they're taking care of their parents and children. And so you don't have time to be on the phone with Medicare and, all of the people in your state. And so we want to have a whole advocacy arm where we can do some legwork for you, where you don't have to do it all for yourself. I also want to have like a loan closet, or, so that with equipment, when somebody passes or you no longer need it, we can have it and we can offer it for free or a nominal fee, because to be quite honest, Cynthia, too, I really want to do more for that middle class, the ones that are in the middle, because you don't qualify for Medicaid. So
That's right.
your families can't get paid to care for you. You don't get a lot of support and resources. Mostly all of what you do is out of pocket. And then, of course, if you're rich, you can certainly write checks. But, for us, it's a struggle. I don't get paid to care for my mother. She doesn't get Medicare. It's one or the other. You get a walker or you get a wheelchair, which one you want, so I want to have a closet where we'll have all of the equipment, all of the supplies. Even with Medicaid, they don't pay for everything. They may not pay for cream. It's a lot that goes along with this healthcare system, especially for those that find themselves in the middle. So, with the Binti Circle, I want to work with that population specifically. And I really want to have it to a robust program where you will get everything you need from the Binti Circle. And that will change, not only just change the narrative of what we're going to, but change some policy, have some folks that are able to lobby on our behalf, because the reality of it is it's a growing population, there'll be 4 million Black people annually, right?
Mhm.
That are over 65, that's going to need care. So then that leaves the burden on their children, but primarily the daughter. I mean, out of the 25 million people that care, 75% are women.
Yes.
And then the average is that 49 years. And so we need to do better. And then CDC says that we're a public health priority, that our health is at risk as caregivers. So we need support. We need more services. We need more resources.
Yeah, well, it's really, my mother passed 10 years ago and we lived in different states and I was flying back and forth. I had to be partner with my uncle to be the advocate for her because she was in a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying, everything that you're saying is true. Tooth and nail, we were doing everything. And when she went into hospice, it was really, really giving up everything and going to be there with her while she went through that. And so what you're doing is extraordinarily important. And I think getting this information out, it is incredible. And so I'm assuming you're open for people to come and join your Binti Circle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can just send me an email at Dawnita at DAWNITA at HeyCaregiver.com. And just let me know you're interested in joining the Binti Circle. In the Binti Circle, if you are Black and you are a daughter that's taken care of, it started with mothers, but it's, since grown to parents, because there are some people that are taking care of their mothers and fathers, or just their fathers or their grandmothers. So if you are a Black daughter caregiver, please reach out. We do virtual meetings. We actually have even done hybrid, where the women that are here in Baltimore meet, and then we have, the women who are in different states join us virtually. And so, it really works. And we're actually planning a respite retreat for November. It'll be our first annual respite retreat, which is in November is National Family Caregivers Month. And it's just so important for us to recharge and refuel and be with folks that really understand. And that's the goal. And it's going to be evidence-based. I'm partnering with Emory University. There is a professor there, Dr. Fayron Epps, who created Caregiving While Black. And so she's going to help us to capture the data, do the monitoring and evaluation, so that we can have proof, not only a proof of concept, but to show that the health of our Binti Circle sisters is improving, they're maintaining, and, it's just much needed. Respite and support are the two key things that caregivers need. And respite doesn't mean a weekend. You could just, if you have 5 minutes where you can go and breathe, but something that you intentionally do for you is very important, because it's not sustainable if you don't have it. So
that's right, because if the caregiver goes down, everything it goes down. Right. So okay, so by the way, Bindi is BINDI, ladies.
BINTI, Binti.
Oh, Binti. Okay. And so tell me, I know you gave your email, but how do people find your website?
So it's heycaregiver.com. I also have social media I'm going to be honest with everybody. I'm not that active, but you can see, some things. So everything is Hey Caregiver. And then my personal Instagram is at the Selfful Caregiver. And Selfful is my moniker. It's that sweet spot between selfish and selfless. As caregivers, we think that when we take time for ourselves, we're being selfish. Right. And on the flip side, we're selfless. Like I was selfless with my mom and I did myself a disservice. I gained weight. I was depressed, all of the things. But it wasn't until I took the time for myself to give back to her that, it just worked better. So I say selflessness is that sweet spot between selfish and selfless. And it allows you, once you take better care of you, you're able to take better care of your loved one.
That's incredible, Dawnita. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to know you. It's inspiring. And I ask the same last question of every guest. This show is called Women Awakening. And I want to know, what do you think is the most important thing about Women Awakening at this moment in time?
I think it's about getting in tune with your inner self. And like you said in the beginning, whoever that higher power is in your life, be it God, the universe, Buddha, whoever, because it's not all about us. And we're all here for a purpose. And I think that's awakening. When you discover your purpose and why you are here on this earth, that's like the pinnacle of awakening. We go through life. A lot of people go through life asleep the whole time, from the time they, until they close their eyes. And so I think that saying, you know what, God, I'm a wife and a mother, but my kids are about to graduate. Who am I? I have women that have told me, I don't know what to do. The kids are gone to college, and I don't know what to do. So it's like getting in touch with who you are and embracing who you are. And there are going to be some things that you don't like or, things that you say, oh, wow. But I think that's where awakening comes in, is really knowing who you are and knowing that even when you have a bad day, that is good because you're doing what you've been called to do.
Absolutely. Dawnita, thank you so much for being here. I look forward to hearing about all of your success and growth because I just think it's necessary. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
So ladies, I'm going to say the same thing I say to you every week. Wake up. Remember who you are. You're magnificent. You're powerful. You're dynamic. You're here for greatness. You're here to make a difference. You're here to stand in your power, shine your light, and allow grace to move you into magnificent places. I'm honored to walk with you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and take good care of you.